Welcome to a special edition of Wildcat TV on Comcast 15 and ATTU Verse 99. I'm Kennedy Swanson. Today, Wildcat TV focuses on a very real, very difficult issue, human trafficking. While many of you might think that slavery is something that was eradicated due to the Civil War, in reality, a new wave of slavery exists and is thriving in our society and all around the world. Wildcat TV has spent the past 3 weeks investigating this issue. Before we begin, we want you to be aware that stories and information you will see and hear in this episode may be difficult and contain mature material. Your discretion is advised. Our first segment focuses on what human trafficking is and why it is such a problem. Reporter Estina Corin has spent time diving into the global and domestic problems of human trafficking.
We take our lives for granted every day, but what we don't realize is that people all around us, in our world, in our country, and even here in our own city, are being held as victims and traded and sold as slaves, both in the labor force and prostitution. Human trafficking is a growing problem in our nation. Until we recognize the problem and seek resolutions, nothing will change. Between 14,500 and 17,500 people are trafficked each year here in the United States. Some experts estimated that number approaching 200,000 or even more, 50% of those being children. And from Wildcat TV's research, most resources agree that approximately 27 million people are trafficked worldwide. 5% of victims are forced into factories, 10% into agriculture, 12% miscellaneous, 27% domestic servitude, and 46% of victims in prostitution. 8% of human trafficked victims are male, leaving 92% to be female. 38% of victims are between the ages of 18 to 24, and 27% are younger than 17. Between January 2008 and June 2010, the FBI opened 2,515 suspected incidents of human trafficking for investigations here in the United States. Approximately 8 in 10 of the suspected incidents of human trafficking were classified as sex trafficking, and 1 in 10 as labor trafficking. The confirmed human trafficking incidents that had been open for a minimum of a year resulted in 144 arrests. Human trafficking continues to be a growing problem that needs to be stopped. Victims are brutally physically, sexually, and mentally abused and traded like merchandise. Why would someone do this? Because it is profitable. Behind drugs and gun trafficking, human trafficking is the most profitable criminal activity. Simply put, people are getting rich off of enslaving others.
Reporter Estina Corin is with us now in the newsroom. Estina, in your research for this piece, what was the one thing that stuck out to you the most?
Well, Kennedy, the one thing that stuck out to me was that 50% of the human trafficking victims were children. I didn't realize that people just like us in our ages, the ages of people that we go to school with, are the ones that are targeted most for human trafficking.
Was it difficult to see the videos and hear the stories of survivors of human trafficking?
Yes, I personally think it was very difficult because you see people that have been sexually or physically and mentally abused in ways that we can't even imagine today, and then to see how amazing it is that they survived, I would never be able to go through that.
Thank you very much for your story, Estina. Human trafficking is an issue that affects the entire world as well as our own nation. We in the Kansas City area are not immune to this problem. Reporter Weston Mooningham takes a look at the problem in the Kansas City area, as well as a coalition determined to make a difference.
In harsh weather like this, it probably wouldn't be your first choice to have to sleep in a truck stop like this. However, imagine having to sleep in the back of a semi in total darkness chained to one of the walls. That's a reality for many victims of human trafficking. Trucks like these are used to transport people every day, and unfortunately, because we have major highways running north and south and east and west, Kansas City area has been a growing hub for human trafficking.
The situation I just described may be an extreme one. However, at truck stops all around the nation, young girls are being forced into trafficking. You might be thinking there's no way this could be happening in our area, but the fact of the matter is, it happens every day. The victims of these horrible crimes are said to be hiding in plain sight every day in our city. Caroline was a victim of trafficking in our area and was sexually exploited at a local truck stop at a young age.
Out of the girls that I worked with, a number of them started out younger than 18. I would say around 12 or 13, that's a real normal age. Oak Grove and the Flying J out on 350, those were spots that the girls went almost every night. I do believe there's children being bought and sold in our community, and I do believe that there's quite a few adults.
Well, when I used to come out here, the back row was always known as the dangerous row. That's where girls would constantly get raped and assaulted. Wow. And I just remember this truck stop that even I went inside and nobody ever asked me what I was doing there or what was going on. It was just like they already knew.
And accepted it.
Yeah.
It's just acceptable behavior.
Right as we're standing here, there could be a girl in one of these trucks that is being trafficked from some other place. And to know that really is, makes me feel uncomfortable, because at any point in time, it could have been me or it could have been another girl that I know.
The Mother and Child Health Coalition is a group in our area doing something to make a difference. In January, they invited Wildcat TV to attend the conference on human trafficking held at Research Medical Center. Their purpose? To spread awareness of this growing and dangerous issue.
Well, it's an important issue because it's completely unacceptable to have anyone involved in human trafficking, especially our children. And it's important for us as adults to be the ones to protect vulnerable, helpless children. They have no defense against this except for caring adults who are willing to take this on.
I caught up with one of the lead speakers of the conference, Dorothy Stuckey-Halley, who is the Victim Service Director for the Kansas Attorney General, to get some more information about this issue.
Well, they say 200,000 to 300,000 new victims of domestic minor sex trafficking each year. That's a pretty high number, and yet what we really think is that that number could be quite a bit higher than that. It's just really dependent on whether or not those numbers truly reflect what's going on out there. We don't really believe that those numbers are accurate because it is such an underground problem that oftentimes you don't really know how prevalent it is in your community.
It's my understanding that Kansas City, unfortunately, is one of the higher areas in the nation for human trafficking of children. It's not an issue that we've really talked about as a community, and it certainly isn't something I think that we are aware enough about. And I think that once people are, they will rally to this cause. I mean, how can we not?
Human trafficking is an issue not only happening in foreign countries, but something happening in our own backyard. The Mother and Child Coalition hopes that by spreading information, they can help save victims and put a stop to this in our area. Reporting for Wildcat TV, this is Weston Mooneyham.
We're now joined by Weston Mooneyham. At the beginning of your piece, you filmed at a truck stop on I-70. What was it like filming at a place that has the potential to become a hub, so to speak, for human trafficking?
It's actually an emotional thing going there and knowing what all the things that could go on at a place like that, and knowing that people will regularly go in there and get gas and have no idea what could be happening.
The Mother and Child Coalition really seemed to be bringing awareness to the issue in our area.
Yeah, it was really nice of them to let us come in and listen to the conference, and you could truly tell how passionate they were by the way they're speaking.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You saw in Weston's story a clip from a survivor of human trafficking who now works for Veronica's Voice, a local organization working to free women from trafficking, specifically those in forced prostitution. I was able to sit down with the founder, Christy Childs, to find out more about her story and what Veronica's Voice is all about. Take a look. A local organization that has been combating the issue was founded by Christy Childs in 2000. Christy is an ex-victim of human trafficking, and she carries with her a life story that is uncomparable. When I asked her to explain how her organization, Veronica's Voice, came about, this is what she had to say.
In 1988, I came back to Kansas City and I met a young girl. She was 14 at the time, and she was being prostituted. And she began to tell me her story. And I really didn't want to get involved. I knew she was underage, and the more she told me, the more I connected with her and was like, this is me all over again.
Christy developed a sister-like friendship with Veronica, and they became very close. Christy also learned that she would be pregnant and mothering a newborn son.
In that moment that I heard my son's heartbeat, my depression, that severe, dark deepness of depression was gone.
Her son became that light she needed to get out of her situation. Unfortunately, prostitution led to Veronica's murder, and because of this, Christy felt a strong need to reach back and help other women in similar situations.
So I had worked at the Chamber of Commerce, Kansas City, Kansas Chamber of Commerce for several years, and then I went on and went back to work for Sister Linda after I had went through her program. And I was working as a case manager, and I just happened to have lunch with her and felt my heart just wanting to tell her. So I told her my story, and I had never told anyone before. And I was scared a little bit, but I trusted her enough over this time, and her acceptance and non-judgmentalness of just where I had come from, not really knowing where I had came from, but it was obvious I had been through some things. And so I told her my heart was to reach back and pull other girls that were trapped, other girls and women that were like me, and that I also wanted to expose the reality of what prostitution really is.
And that's how Veronica's Voice was founded. A big misconception with human trafficking is that prostitution doesn't fit into the same category, although it absolutely does. The unique thing about Veronica's Voice is that they offer the women
sisterhood. We do not judge them. You know, we meet them right where they're at, you know, and we offer that up, and we offer hope because we let them know we've been where you're at.
Their main goal is
to make these women independent. We don't want them to become dependent on us. We want them to become empowered where they can make good, healthy choices for their lives and have options.
And as everyone focuses on the pimps, Christy sees the demand of men buying women as the bigger issue.
If we had one prostituted woman in Kansas City, and we know 10 to 25 men are buying her a day, that shows you how much bigger the issue is of the men that are buying.
This isn't just a women's issue. This is an everybody's issue.
We need more community involvement and support. What we want to do is take them and make them productive in their own lives, which would be a benefit to the community. We are here as a community resource.
But with a lack of support,
we are still sitting here in this home that is not housing women, while every year I have women that die on my watch, and because we can't place them here. There's some things that you know, seem to be working against us, and the Home Association does not want us in this area. I personally think it's a fear of the unknown, the fear of possibilities of what could happen. And the sad thing is, we're not flying these women in from New York City. They're right here. We could drive down the street and probably see a few. So they're here. What we want to do is take them and make them productive in their own lives, which would be a benefit to the community. We are here as a community resource, but unfortunately, I have gotten to the point when I come in this home that I am sad.
Here's some of Christy's advice.
Find survivors. Find survivors that are in leadership positions that are really doing something and that are talking honestly about the issue. Get educated on what that looks like. Support survivors. We need to be providing social services for victims, providing care and a way out.
One thing I took away from talking with Christy is her sense of courage and determination. It was such a humbling experience, and her passion to fight against human trafficking shows through in her everyday work. We've seen a lot about the problem of human trafficking, and when we return, we'll visit the Kansas City Star, who conducted a groundbreaking investigative piece on trafficking, as well as discover what you can do to help. That and more when Wildcat TV's special edition continues. We've been focusing on the issue of human trafficking in this special edition. This idea was brought to us from a group of students who first learned about human trafficking at a conference in Atlanta. Reporter Kaylee Chapello sat down with these students in our studio to find out why the issue became so important to them.
I got the chance to sit down with a few students who had the opportunity to attend a conference in Atlanta, Georgia, where the main focus was human trafficking, to learn more about what inspired them to bring this issue to our attention.
So you all recently attended Passion, which is an annual conference held in Atlanta, Georgia. Lisa, could you tell me a little bit more about the conference?
Yeah, it's once a year. They have it at the beginning of the year. It's a 4-day conference where Christians or believers from all over the country, all over the world, come together and they're able to worship and hear amazing speakers and just get really inspired.
So what did the conference teach you about human trafficking?
It brought the awareness of it initially was the focus, but more than that, it was just what we can do, because it feels so like out there and that we can't do anything, and we feel so ill-equipped to do, like, where do we start? And so it really just broke it down in a very inspiring, amazing way of just like that we're capable of doing a lot.
How has this whole issue of human trafficking and learning about it impacted your life?
For me, it reminds me that, like, alone we can't do very much, but together we can, like, do things. Like, there are 27 million estimated slaves in the world, and you think about yourself and you're like, whoa, I can't really do anything. I'm just 18 years old. Like in Timothy, where it talks about don't let anyone look down on you because you are young.
Right.
That's kind of like the thing that applies here. And just together, like, all this, if we all get into it, if you're like a believer or not, like, slavery is something that everybody should hear.
Yeah. And I didn't realize this, but I guess there's more slaves in the world now than there has ever been in history.
Yeah, like whenever you think about slavery, you don't think about modern day slavery, you
Right.
know, you think about like enslaved, you know, like in the,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. You don't think about like, and it's not just sex trafficking, it's like, it's labor, and I think everyone automatically thinks about the sex trafficking issue, which is obviously a huge issue,
Right.
Because it's the more focused on one, but it's not only that, but it's that, you know, kids are being forced and beaten to work in, like, you know, mining and doing all these very laborious, like, jobs and things like that.
Right. So, Kira, did you learn any ways at this conference that we as high schoolers can take part in ending modern day slavery?
Yeah, actually, that was probably one of the best things about Passion, I think. Even though they raised awareness, they also equipped you to get ready to do something about it.
Right.
We talked about, like, the Coney 2012 thing and how everybody was really felt and hurt about it, but nobody really did anything. But with the End It movement, they have a campaign called the 821 campaign. That'll be further talked about, but there's ways that you can send goods and money. The big thing was that they already have the people going out and, like, doing those sorts of things. They already have the people on the ground, but it's just they need the funds to get going.
So is there anything else that you want us to, you know, to be aware of or to know about human trafficking?
Slavery just isn't. Slavery is in the U.S., like, within, like, there's actual slaves here, but also, like, the products we buy. I've been really aware of, like, product awareness, I guess. So just research, look up different brands that you like that may be using different sorts of slavery to get their goods. Because it might just not be that a slave made the clothing, but they might have, like, picked the cotton that would make the fabric or something. So just be aware, like, don't be ignorant to the fact.
Thank you guys so much for coming out and talking to us and meeting with us. You guys did really inspire us to make a show about this because we do want to spread awareness of the issue.
Thank you for that piece, Kaylee. What a remarkable group of students who want to make a difference. The Kansas City Star has also made a difference in this issue, due to an investigative, award-winning series on human trafficking in 2010. Our own Laura Masters visited with the 2 lead reporters at the Kansas City Star about the series.
In 2010, the Kansas City Star conducted an award-winning 6-month investigation on human trafficking. Today we got the chance to sit down with some of the lead reporters on the story to get more details. On our trip to the Kansas City Star, I met with Mike McGraw and Laura Bauer, the lead reporters on the human trafficking series. Both were very knowledgeable on this serious and complicated issue.
Our editor came to us and he wanted to do more on human trafficking because they had heard that it was growing in the United States and that here in the Midwest it was a bigger problem than we realized.
The goal of the series was primarily to let people know that it happens in the Midwest. It can happen anywhere. It's not just a coastal phenomenon.
This award-winning series investigated many issues such as the mistreatment of trafficking victims in our country.
The United States of America preaches to the rest of the world about how to end human trafficking. And our goal was to test that mission against reality. How good a job does the federal government really do in trying to end human trafficking? And what we found is that they wouldn't do very well under their own rating system. We knew from reading a lot that we probably mistakenly deport some human trafficking victims. So we thought that was a good way to nationalize kind of a local subject or localize a national subject. So we paid a lot of attention to the deportation system, and we wrote in great depth about the local case, which involved using sometimes legal, sometimes illegal immigrants to clean hotel rooms for very low wages. So that's what got it started on a local level.
They also investigated trafficking locally and sought an explanation and solution to the problem.
I think there's a lot of reasons for it. To some degree, it's a matter of agricultural labor. There's a lot of ag labor in and around the Midwest, and sometimes human trafficking victims are part of that system. It's also a crossroads. We have two interstate highways crossing here, I-70 and I-35, and it's kind of a drop-off point in many ways. And if you get a chance to talk to the U.S. Attorney's Office, they'll tell you that it's not only drugs but human trafficking, and sometimes those two things intersect.
It's hidden in plain sight, where these people walk around every day, they blend in, the traffickers want them to blend in, and they don't want them to say anything, and what they do is so many of them are recruited from their home countries by people that they know.
It happens all the time. There have been documented cases in which neighbors live next door to human trafficking victims for years and don't even realize they're there because they're hidden in plain sight, as a lot of the advocacy groups kind of try to say. And I think the advocacy groups will tell you if you look closely and pay better attention, you might see signs of human trafficking, and they're urging people to do that.
Because they're hidden in plain sight, often victims go unnoticed and they go untreated, but I do think the government is trying to do more for that.
The main thing they wanted people to take away from this investigation was that you can get involved and help stop human trafficking.
If you have a suspicion, call the police. Some police departments have federal grants to train officers to recognize human trafficking and do a better job of taking care of the victims instead of prosecuting them for crimes like prostitution, when in fact they have no choice in the matter, or maybe their relatives are being threatened. If they don't go through with these things, their relatives could be harmed.
If you suspect anything, if you think somebody may be trafficked or somebody being mistreated, just call your local law enforcement.
I'm now joined by Laura LeMasters. Laura, thank you for your story on the Kansas City Star. They put together an amazing series.
Yes, it was truly inspiring to meet with people who devoted months of their lives to researching this important issue.
Absolutely. What stood out to you the most in what they were saying regarding human trafficking?
I thought it was interesting to learn about the improvements that the government has made directly because of the story. And even though they haven't done enough in the past, they are getting better. So that's good.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us. Not only are major news outlets getting involved in this issue, but organizations around the state are holding events to help support this cause. Reporter Deja Montgomery has information on a few of those opportunities.
Hello, I'm Deja Montgomery, here to inform you about 3 events that will be happening in Missouri and Kansas to support the cause of ending human trafficking. In Kansas, there will be an event called Slavery Still Exists campaign that will be held March 4th to the 8th, starting 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. in Kansas State University. Students will be holding up signs to spread awareness about sex trafficking. While we may know it may be difficult to attend this event, sharing with others about the event could help awareness. In Missouri, there will be 2 events held. One is called Stroll to Heal the Soul, which is a 5K walk on Saturday, April 27th, starting at 8:30 a.m. at Crev Core Park in St. Louis. We know this is a drive, but it could make a great road trip for you and your friends while also helping the cause. Woods Chapel Church will be hosting a dodgeball tournament on February 18th, starting at 1 p.m. I caught up with sophomore Jared Hinton for more information. How long has your church been planning this event?
Well, it started 2 years ago when we first started it, and we did it to benefit International Justice Mission because we had a sermon series about justice and oppression, and kind of learned how there's still slavery going on today and how we can make a difference. The main goal I want to achieve with this event is to get more people informed about this issue, because it's still very prevalent today in modern times, but not a lot of people know about it. Like, one kid actually made a Facebook event for this and said, hey, come support us and help free modern-day slaves, and one of the kids commented and said, hey, I think we kind of figured that out in 1865, and he was like, no, this is still a problem. That's our main goal. We want to get more people informed.
So get out to one of these events, or at the very least spread the word to help support a great cause and to help end trafficking. This is Deja Montgomery reporting for Wildcat TV.
Throughout the broadcast, you've seen ways to get involved in this issue. Reporter Michelle Yamas takes a look at some simple ways you, as high school students, can specifically make an impact in human trafficking.
Today we've heard a lot about how large global and local organizations are making a difference, but we wanted to find ways that will allow us, as high school students, to bring awareness and help make a change in the world of human trafficking. The students who were interviewed today are setting up a student group to share their knowledge, experiences, and ideas for making a change with you. Their first meeting will be Thursday, Wildcat Shift A in Mr. Marble's room. Along with the student group, there are other simple ways you can help, such as following large organizations who fight globally and nationally to end human trafficking. For example, you can follow at the A21 campaign on Twitter or Instagram, and you can also like their page on Facebook. Another organization, the End It Movement, is also on Twitter. One click can make an impact. There are student groups and social media, but for those of you who want to take it a step further, there is an opportunity for you to make a difference yourself. I'm sure you're wondering just how this tragic reality of human trafficking affects you. Well, you can find out by visiting slaveryfootprint.org. There, you will take a survey to find out just how many slaves work for you. After finding out how many people are being forced to work creating the products we buy on a daily basis, you might be inspired to make a difference. I know I was. I took the Slavery Footprint survey and found that 68 slaves worked for me. Hearing that huge number impacted me in an unexpected way, and I decided to learn more. I researched companies that use slave labor, and what I found was shocking. According to Change.org, LaborRights.org, and the New York Daily News, Victoria's Secret, Forever 21, Aeropostale, Urban Outfitters, Toys R Us, and Hershey's all use slave labor at some point in their production process. Being aware of what you buy and making an effort to change your buying habits can be a simple way to make a strong statement against human trafficking. Even though you are one person, the choices and decisions you make to share this message can affect multiple people. The bottom line: the best thing you can do is spread the word on this issue and get others to recognize this is a problem that needs to be stopped.
We are now joined by our video production teacher, Mr. Marble, for the final thought.
In reporting, we're taught to be objective, but this is not an issue that allows that. Each member of Wildcat TV, including myself, has forever been impacted by what we've learned. We hope that you have too. No one watching would agree that slavery should exist today, yet it is happening every day in every city, even our own. While some of the stories you've heard and seen today you might consider graphic, we can assure you through our research we didn't even scratch the surface. This is not a political issue, not a religious issue. This is a human issue. As human beings, we cannot allow this to continue. Human trafficking must be stopped. No one deserves to be a slave. To quote a film shown at the Passion Conference mentioned earlier in the broadcast, trafficking affects 27 million people worldwide. Some stories end with rescue. Most do not. They remain trapped. Dignity taken, innocence stolen, abused, raped, used. And that will be their story, unless we do something to stop it. Everyone out there has the ability to do something. Ignorance is not an excuse. Nobody out there who's seen this program has the luxury of that excuse anymore. Indifference is not an option. We'd like to thank the Mother and Child Health Coalition, the Kansas City Star, Veronica's Voice, and the Blue Springs and Independence Examiner. We'd like to thank you for watching, listening, and and hopefully doing something about it. We all have that choice. It's time for all of us to make a difference.